Look, it's me again. And I moved... Like, Zephyr and Vashron switched weapons. Everyone's levels are very close, but Vashron is like one level lower on machine gun than everyone else, and Zephyr's one level lower on handgun. This probably won't make a big difference.
Probably not, but...
Nope.
It satiates the OCD.
Do you remember how far this goes, Cotillion? Will this take us... Oh, is 9 the last one we had?
It's the last one we have available, yeah. So we could
I'm
go
not sure
all
that
the way...
we will go all the way through 9.
No.
That seems like that will take us a while.
Yeah.
I would say, for good measure, go through 7.
That seems reasonable.
Like, all the way
this
through 7.
compromise.
And it may actually get too hard at some point.
It's possible.
So
I can imagine
we
that
talked
being
about
the case.
this. We talked about this before recording the last bonus episode, but we are at a place right now in the story where we have a very limited amount of upgrade options for our guns, and that will give us a hard cap on how far we can go in here, because the ability to charge rings is limited by your barrels, and the higher level you get, the more rings you can get. But if you can't get them out, like if you can't charge all the way up, then you're just kind of stuck.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, it actually takes kind of a while in this game, and I always forget this. It always seems to take longer than I'm expecting to reach a point where you can, like, really truly start, like, customizing weapons in a meaningful way. Like, you can upgrade them, you can add parts to them, but, like, it's a while before it's, like...
It gets out of hand, which is when it actually gets good.
Yeah, I guess that's more or less what I mean.
And doing this right now, will actually help us with that, because we're getting a bunch of, like, gold and silver chips that we can sell, so that when those pieces do open up and we can start customizing more, we'll have the money to do it.
Yeah.
It does get expensive.
I'm excited.
That'll be good
The
times.
whole, like, gold and silver chips thing has always seemed really weird to me.
I mean, they gotta give you some way to make money other than selling the, like, random scrap
Yeah, but, like,
stuff
couldn't
that
they
you
just,
don't
like,
wanna...
have the enemies drop...
money? That would be,
Yeah,
that
I don't know,
would
it
be
seems
nice.
a little weird. Did a really bad job because I really wasn't paying attention.
You're
It's
fine.
fine. It'll be fun.
You can do it. I believe in you.
I want to move next.
There's a quote from one of my like local group of friends that I typically would use in this
Why are you
situation,
talking to
but
me? We're
trying to
friends.
make it a little more PG and a little less PG-13. So.
What's happening? Professor was talking to me for some reason.
I didn't know you started.
Is she there? Wait a minute. Is the professor there?
No, she's definitely not here.
That would be a first.
I know. I've been waiting for her to show up for like ages. I'd be shocked if she was just suddenly there and I had no idea.
No, she's definitely not here. Even though she was trying to talk to me. We have a telepathic communication system, so...
That seems like could be cool, could be a little awkward.
Yeah, you know.
It's such a terrible job this round. Luckily it decided to like follow me over here and make that a little easier. So I could do that tiny little triangle, or I could cross double cross. I think that's technically better.
Yeah. Because then you can go out wider with her and make it...
Yeah, it'll make a much bigger triangle with more points. It feels like maybe overkill, but like the other version might actually get me killed, which is stupid.
Yeah.
Big old triangle. I will say that it's like definitely reached a point where like the enemies are actually like kind
You
of
actually should
challenging.
think about it.
Yeah, like before, like it literally didn't matter what I did. As long as I was like making reasonably competent triangles,
Right.
like I would get there every time. And then there was that like one time where I like suddenly died. I was like, wait, what happened? Where have I been? What am I doing?
Yeah, they do get tougher as you go, and then the weird placement sometimes can just totally screw you up.
I definitely remember one of the times we were playing through this game, Tech and I, where like we were like totally a fine level to kill like all of the guys, except like the placement in one of the rooms was so weird we like couldn't kill them. But like once we like killed that, like everything after it was like super easy. It was like, well, what the fuck was with that one room?
Oh, I remember that.
Why was it
Isn't
so
there a
hard?
boss in here somewhere?
You definitely
yeah.
find bosses eventually at certain levels. Maybe like
I
10?
think you already fought Tesla Tortoise. I think. Maybe not.
Or, I thought we just
Did we?
fought
I don't
Tesla
think we
Tortoise
did.
like as an actual boss.
If you look at the scoreboard,
I will not.
It'll.
We can do no such
All
thing.
right, well, never mind then.
Well, there's simply no way to know then. It's just how it goes. There are dogs.
Woof.
Doggo.
Vasco, if you could have any pet, what would you get?
Vasco doesn't like pets.
It's true, I don't. Can I have
Real
like
or
a
imaginary?
Skylander that's mostly just like a goofy cartoon character with a ton of catchphrases that are bad puns?
That sounds great to me.
I want Eyebrow. I'm pretty sure Eyebrow is my favorite Skylander.
I
He's
don't
like
think I know Eyebrow.
he's like 12
Sure you
feet
do.
tall. He's literally the lore behind him makes me so happy because of how profoundly stupid it is. The concept of Eyebrow is that he is literally comprised of like a haunted suit of armor and like a flying sentient eyeball that both were like engaged in a fight to the death until they realized they should just team up and the eyeball should be the head for the suit of armor.
Oh, this sounds familiar now. Is he a giant?
Yes, he is a giant.
Oh, okay, I know
dog's
what you're
got
talking about now. They got you.
I'm impressed you remember a distinction between Skylanders and Skylanders giants.
I do. Mostly because they were bigger.
I mean, they are bigger, but I'm still surprised that you remember this.
I remember things about things.
I don't know. There's like a lot of things I would consider as like pets if we're like using a really broad definition. There's like interesting Pokemon and stuff like that.
That's true. You probably have a Vulpix.
Yeah. I'd like.
Or Eevee, rather.
I'd probably go like.
Maybe.
I don't know. Eevee and Squirtle. It's always so hard to pick. I love them both so much.
I
Well,
would
let me
love a
ask you
Vulpix.
this: if there was a Pokemon Let's Go Squirtle instead of,
Then it would be really hard.
or
That's why I'm
as
glad
well
that there
as,
isn't one. I
Then
can
your
preempt
mom would have just
question
gotten me
because I know
that
it
one
would be a
too.
moral dilemma, and if I could answer it, I could answer your other question more easily.
Well, then you would have just gotten 3 of them for Christmas.
It's true. My mom literally. So like, I asked for Let's Go Eevee, and my mom was just sort of like, "You should just have both of them." It's like, all right.
Aw. I mean, she's right though. You should.
She's not wrong. That is for certain.
I mentioned it in chat while you were streaming it. I doubt you saw it, but I also mentioned it to Tech while we were smashing. That
Oh, baby.
watching you play that,
So gross.
watching you play that made me really want to buy it and play it, but I knew it would just be a waste of money because I would just.
It's interesting. Like, I wasn't sure what your take on the game was going to be because I know you have really strong feelings about like Pokemon games over time.
Yeah,
And
sure
like,
do.
it's definitely doing stuff differently, but it's not exactly in a way that I think addresses the problems you have with the other ones.
It's
So I
What is
feel
your
like you
problem
wouldn't
with the other
hate
ones?
it, but like I don't think that you would be super happy with it either.
I like. It looked really nice. It looks gorgeous.
It looks gorgeous. It does look beautiful.
And surprisingly, the catch mechanic. I mean, I played Pokemon Go when it first came out, like every other person on the world,
Yeah, everyone, all the time.
and it was fine. You know, it was a fine diversion. But I wasn't like when I heard that was going to be the catch mechanic. I was kind of like, really? That's where you're gonna go with this? You have the most powerful Pokemon system you've had yet, and you're gonna do that. But watching you do it, it actually wasn't that bad, and
It's not as bad as I expected. It's still not my favorite, but I appreciate the like what they did. With it.
Well, you know,
Yeah.
here's what I'll say. How often, once you get to a certain point, how often are you fighting random Pokemon in the overworld
you don't.
to level up?
You mean in regular
Like only if you're
Pokemon
like
games?
desperate to grind or whatever.
Right, exactly.
Once you have the ones
So-
you want, you're like not really doing enough.
So, like, changing up the system and simplifying it, I think is a perfectly reasonable idea.
I think it's a reasonable idea. I still. there's just some things I find really annoying about the Pokemon Go system. Most prominently, the whole idea that every now and then, like, a Pokeball will simply have no physical effect on a Pokemon because it's, like, flexing. It's just like, roar! And then, like, because it's roaring at you, like, it just, like, phases out of existence. Like, I sort of get what it's going for, but it just feels really fucking annoying to me. I really dislike it.
I can get behind that. That system isn't great.
Justice triumphs again.
But, like,
Anyway,
my sister raised a good point when she was streaming, because she's a huge Pikachu fan, and so she's been streaming Let's Go Pikachu for a while. And that was sort of that, like, you know, for people who've just, like, always been a little uncomfortable with the idea that you have to, like, fight the Pokemon that you want to be your friend before you catch it, like, it's kind of nice in that regard, you know?
Yeah. I think it makes
if you
more
had to,
sense.
like, fight a foster dog to, like, adopt it, like, wouldn't that be fucked up? Like, why is that okay?
It kind of follows the lore of the show a little bit more, too, because really, there were very few parts of the original Pokemon that I can remember where Ash actually had to fight them before catching them.
It's true.
Right.
It's pretty rare, in fact, yeah.
So I like that aspect of it. It's just the fact that in that game, you need to grind. Or at least that has been my experience, that you need to grind in that game, and I don't know, it just seems weird for all of your entire team to get experience because you threw a Pokeball. Like, that just didn't really make sense. Although it is nice that you basically start off with
There's got to be a better way to
share.
do that. I see what you mean.
Yeah.
But I don't want to get into a whole...
The Pokemon Go incorporation adds an incentive to, like, catching a lot of really, like, barely fucking... That's dog shit.
Sorry.
Like, there's, like, a reason to catch lots of a Pokemon that you want. There's actually two incentives. One, that if you chain a bunch of them, if you catch, like, a bunch of Caterpie, is something I was trying to do, then, like, it increases the odds that you'll find, like, a shiny one. So if you're into... What the fuck just happened? It keeps, like, randomly switching my weapons when I'm literally not pressing any button near the switch weapons button.
Weird.
That's, like, the third time it's done that. I don't really understand. But so, like, you know, if you're interested in shiny Pokemon, which some people really are, like, that's a cool thing. And there's also just, like, it increases the odds that they have, like, perfect or near perfect stats. So, like, even if you just want strong Pokemon, there's, like, an incentive. But also, like, if you just get a bunch of extra whatever, like, say Vulpix as an example, because we know Tech likes Vulpix.
I do.
Then, like, you can give them to Professor Oak for his studies, and then he rewards you with candies that, like, help the Vulpix that you want to train become stronger. The concept of where the candy comes from is nebulous and confusing, if not slightly alarming, but, you know, there's an incentive. Go everyone.
I mean,
Do it.
the bottom
Shoot 'em
line
up
is,
with
I think that the original Pokemon system of fight all the things absolutely needed updating, and I think that simplifying it and shortening it is perfectly sensible. I'm not sure whether or not the Pokemon Go format is the solution.
Yes.
It's certainly
I'm willing to agree with you on both points completely.
It's certainly an interesting idea, and it's also worth noting that, like, you know, if they hooked kids on by playing Pokemon Go and then bring them into this game by saying, oh, look, it's just like Pokemon Go, but with more. I mean, I feel like they already got the kids. I don't feel like hooking was necessary. But I do see the logic in using the same
I actually don't think the Pokemon
mechanic.
Go is to hook the kids. I think it's to hook adults who hadn't been committed to playing Pokemon video games before. They're like, it's like that app you like. It's like that thing that gets you out of your house.
But all the adults that played the app don't play it anymore.
That's apparently not true. I mean,
Yeah,
Really?
my sister definitely still plays, and she's kind of an extreme case because she really likes Pikachu.
She loves Pikachu,
But
yeah. I don't feel
she
like that
also
doesn't count.
she does like community days and stuff like that, and like clearly there are still lots of adults playing. I'm not saying it's like a majority of people or whatever, but like there are people still playing, and I do hear other people besides my sister and outside her circle occasionally still talk about Pokemon Go.
Really?
I can tell you, I
It's
saw
not for me,
a
but
headline saying that Niantic made $800 million last year, so people are
God.
still playing the game.
Jesus. I feel like though, if you do not successfully capture the VascoDaGamer market, you haven't properly made a Pokemon game. Like, if you
I
can't
want to
keep
think that,
Vasco
but I'm
playing
clearly
the
biased,
game,
right? Like, it's
like, you've
impossible
done
for me
something.
not to be biased on that point.
That was more fun than I thought it'd be.
I mean, here's the thing. I think that if they had added some of the things they've added over the last, like, 6 months, within, like, the first, like, 3 months, I might have kept up with it. But, like,
Yeah.
now it seems like too much effort for me to get back into it and learn all the nuanced things they've changed in the, like, year and a half between. But, like, they're just, like, I felt like there wasn't anything to do when it came out. I was like, cool, like, you could ARC Pokemon in your neighborhood, and, like, it gets people out talking about Pokemon and whatever. But then, you know, part of it is, like you say, like, now no one's, like, talking about it, and, like, that was, like, the social element of it was sincerely, like, part of the incentive of what made that seem like a cool idea, at least to me. But also just, like, like, the gym battles were, like, asinine beyond comprehension.
Scratch
It was
damage
so stupid.
yeah, the gym battles
was
were
a
really
nice
terrible.
And, like, that was, like, the only thing to do once you had Pokemon, was the really terrible gym battles. It was like,
Yeah.
why?
Might want to take that guy out for you, because he's already starting to regenerate some of that.
The
I believe
dog
in
or
you,
the
Vasco.
guy?
That guy, the gear.
I don't think he's gonna regenerate, because he's full.
But he's got some green in his bar already.
They always have a little green.
Alright.
Like,
could be
I
right.
maintain, I don't ever recall seeing a circumstance where once something was fully scratched, it was able to regenerate. I believe
Yeah,
that
no, I'm
is an
pretty-
exception to the scratch damage regeneration rule.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure what if you fill the bar, you're
And it's
you're
always
good,
going to
it'll
show a
stay.
little bit of green just because, like, that's how the engine demonstrates it. Like, it's
Yeah.
never a perfect full. Except, like, I think limbs can, maybe? Certain limbs feel like they can. Full body doesn't. Ow. I was more concerned about hitting the dog because the dog was in a position where it could regenerate. How do I feel about this? I think I want to do this.
Yeah, 3 points. It's not bad.
It's not terrible. See how this goes. That's alright.
Bullshit. Fucking
There we
limbs.
go. Fucking finally. Yeah, that limb was like blocking damage like a champ.
You got that.
Oh,
sweet
jeez.
gauge
Oh,
break though.
there you go.
Got some good scratch damage full this round. We just have to not die. We did it.
You can do it. I believe in you.
Actually,
No, you're good with Leon. You just kill
I was
that
just-
thing before it gets an attack off, and then...
I was just wondering if I should use grenades, because I haven't used, like, literally any grenades since I've been playing.
I think you're okay.
But the setup
Everybody's-
doesn't work out as nicely as I wanted to, so I'm just gonna do this.
Everybody's even now. Or roughly even, so I think we're fine.
Maybe we should just do through 6. I don't know. It just feels like this is gonna take a while. What do you guys think?
I mean, I think we should do some amount and see. I don't know. I'm down for whatever.
Help.
I think we should do whatever fills a maximum of 2 share plays.
Fair enough.
That's gonna be
That
through
is an
7.
acceptably deterministic answer. This is
Yeah.
a problem I have when, and I've experienced this a lot lately because I just spent a lot of time with my parents over Christmas and New Year's, is that, like, we should have dinner. Ah, yes, we should. What should
That's
we
where
do
it
about
ends.
that? I'll do whatever.
Yep.
See,
Yep. I've experienced that with my own parents.
Mm.
and usually this will last for, I don't know, anywhere from, like, 5 minutes if someone, like, secretly really does care, or, like, 3 hours.
Yeah.
And
I
it's like,
feel
we
you.
should have had dinner. Yes.
Somebody posted on Reddit a while ago a solution to and this is often portrayed as, you know, what happens in relationships. It's like what to do if your girl won't decide what to do. Is tell her you're gonna take her to some place and it's a surprise, and she has to guess where you're gonna go, and just go the first place she guesses.
That's brilliant. I actually really like that.
Isn't that smart?
I remember Basic Instructions is this webcomic that I used to read.
Oh yeah, that sounds familiar.
And they had, I forget exactly how it went, but they had a really funny, like, similar concept of, like, what to do to stop that from happening. And, like, it involved, like, no one ever wants to go to Subway, but it's the only place everyone can agree on because they're all, like, equally unhappy but not so unhappy that they won't go there. And I don't know, just, like, the way they had phrased it was, like, really funny, where it was, like, I think it was, like, the first thing he suggested, like, I'll do anything, how about Subway? And then they, like, go through a bunch of other things, and he's like, so then we're in agreement, we'll go to Subway.
While that has happened to me, I will say that I have more and more every day go further into the camp of, like, never fucking eating at Subway.
Why?
Because every time I end up having to eat there because of that nice job. Every time I eat there because of that same fucking situation, I am, like, miserable.
Really?
Like, I just am never happy with what I get there, ever. Like, it's always, like, way too much lettuce, or the meat is really fucking gross, or I just feel terrible afterwards. Like, I just never have a happy time eating at Subway.
Well,
And,
I
like,
think
even
all
though
that
it's,
means
like,
is that you actually have strong feelings about Subway, which does, like, inherently discount the premise, at least in your specific case. Guess who's gonna forget to change the grenade back?
Wait.
You
I don't
can
think you
do
have
it.
a grenade equipped.
What's the button that I used to... Touchpad? What? What?
That's... What? Why?
I pressed the touchpad in it. What is happening? This
I don't know what is
controller's
happening.
haunted or some shit. I literally didn't touch the control stick when it scrolled through 3 random options I want to put on the record. Hand grenade? Okay. Wait, why am I... What the fuck?
Because it switched back for some reason.
But why did it do that?
I don't know. Because as discussed previously, you have a haunted controller.
Yeah, you clearly do.
It's not even, like, letting me... So what? Okay. Alright. I think I understand.
Boom!
Okay.
You suppressed the fuck out of that threat, I'll tell you what.
Sure did. Matt just decided to take it up to PG-13.
Oh, baby.
It's gonna get worse. If one of us says that word again, then it automatically goes to R, right? Isn't that how that works?
What?
Mm-hmm.
Is it only one?
I don't know if that's outdated, but I've heard that.
I believe that's still accurate. You get one to make it still PG-13.
That's such an arbitrary way to decide that.
Oh yeah, it's really arbitrary.
Yeah,
Because
that's pretty nonsense, right? Like, that doesn't mean anything to anyone.
there was some movie that came out recently where they used their, like, one F-bomb in a really epic way, and I can't remember what it is.
Well, that means that Generations is a PG-13 movie.
Generations?
Star Trek Next Generation Generations.
Oh.
Is it use?
Well, not the F word. Isn't it just any... Isn't it like
No,
a list of
it's
curse words?
specific-
No,
Specifically the
F word
F
is
word.
specific, yeah.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Yep.
No. Well, never mind then.
I would be shocked if anything other than maybe fucking Discovery was a Star Trek that was actually like PG-13. Discovery's so horrible. Like, I literally don't think that I can explain to either of you how offensive that show is. Like, you need to be like too deep into Star Trek to understand how badly they fucked it up.
I mean, I'm
sorry.
pretty deep into Star Trek. You may know more about Enterprise than I do, but I think I got you licked on everything.
I mean,
Well.
you don't need to know much about Enterprise. Enterprise doesn't count. As far as I'm concerned, Discovery really doesn't count. Let me
Actually
give you
don't
my
know much about
favorite,
original
easy-to-explain
seasons.
Cliff Notes version.
Yeah.
Both of you, I presume, know what a Klingon is, right?
Oh yeah,
Give me,
absolutely.
each of you give me, like, a broad description of what a Klingon is.
You want to go first, Drew? You want me to?
Well, how are we? Are we talking physically or?
Just like what, like physically as a culture, just like anything that Klingon means to you. I think Tech should go first.
All right, a
yeah.
Klingon to me, they typically have distinctive facial features, usually some like rippling in the nose area or the forehead area. But culture-wise, they're warlike. They have a particularly guttural and angry-sounding language. Yeah, I mean, they're like the dwarves of space, right? They're like angry and want to fight all the time.
Yeah, I think that's reasonably fair to say. Drew, you have anything either to tell you? That was a nice bonus shot. Look at that.
Nice.
Oh,
Good
nice.
Fucking bonus shot.
No, that seems about right. They're just a warlike culture. I think that's again, I have no experience with Discovery. Excuse me, with Discovery, but there have been a lot of different iterations of Klingons across the multiple shows and the
different
movies.
variations in their appearance and things like that. Like the original series Klingons don't actually have those facial features that you talked about, Tech, but those are in most of the things that like people are most familiar with. So I think it's very fair to point those out.
I think that the underlying factor there for all of those series, not including Discovery again, because I don't have any experience with it, is that the Klingons are warriors, warlike race. Even in the newest Chris Pine movie, where the Klingons showed up, they were warriors. So
yeah. So why did I do that? It was terrible. In Discovery, they spend like a whole fucking like episode at the start where like there's this like council of Klingons and like they're mostly not interested in having any sort of war or disagreement or anything. They're kind of just like trying to do their own shit. And this like one guy shows up and he's like, but like the prophecy is that we should fight them. And everyone's like, nah, we're good. Like we're pretty good. And so he has to like deceive the Klingons into having war. And it's not for glory or honor, which are like the primary things that Klingons will often talk about. It's like that they're like a culture who's sort of like founded on this idea that like, a person's value is like forged in glory through combat. Like that's like a really important sort of facet of their culture usually. So like instead of them like giving a shit about that, like someone deceives them into starting this war. But like also for some reason, Klingons are like now 9 different colors. There's like a completely white Klingon. There's like a bowling ball black Klingon. There's like just like there's like a rainbow coalition of Klingons, which has like never been a fucking thing before. Like very few of them have facial features that are anywhere similar to existing Klingons. Like just like almost any detail, like you'd have to try to get it worse than their depiction of Klingons. And they're a super central aspect of Star Trek Discovery. They're like the main thing anyone's dealing with.
So what you're telling me is that Klingon means nothing in this new show. It's just whatever you feel like.
It means fucking nothing. Like they just like completely made up a fucking thing. And the thing that's so frustrating to me about that is like, you know what? You know what the Star Trek universe could actually use? Is like some like brand new ideas on like cultures and races, because the last few have like really just like hunkered down on some of the big favorites, like the Klingons and Cardassians and Romulans and shit like that. So like why not make a fucking new race that's 8 different colors and does whatever the fuck you want it to do? Why is it Klingons? Fucking assholes. It's so bad. Like, if you actually like Star Trek, like, if you actually really like Star Trek, I feel like you can't say that you like it. And if you casually like Star Trek, you'll probably still hate it. It's just really bad. It's, like, not even good in its own right, but in just being generically bad, it's especially bad if you give a shit about Star Trek.
I get it. I mean, they're a integral villain and character type in the show, and to just completely, like, it's not even like they're taking liberties with it. They're just like, They're just like, oh, we need an alien. Well, we'll call them Klingons and let them do whatever the hell we
that's
want.
like in my mind, that's essentially what they've done. And like, it's one thing to like change some details because it's in a different time frame. Because like they did that between original series and Next Generation. You know what? The vast majority of people didn't give a shit because what they did internally made sense.
Right.
But like now they're just like, they're completely different. Why? Fucking, I don't know. I couldn't be bothered to watch or read or have heard of Klingons before. Like, they just, I don't know what they are, so I'll just make it up. That seems like the most judicious way to make a Star Trek series.
Yeah. So, when does it take place canonically?
It's another prequel. I think it's like
after
Enterprise, before original series. Yeah. I know! They need to stop making prequels, for the love of fucking God. Like, prequels are inherently bad, in my mind. Well, fuck
I
that.
agree. I absolutely agree. A prequel is
But, like,
really hard to do.
Yeah, like...
Because there's no stakes.
There have
because
been
you know
rare
everyone...
occasions where they have been done well, but, like, the rule is definitely that they are just bad.
Yeah.
So I don't know how much you... well, I can guess how much Tech does, but I don't know how much you, Vasco, know about like some of the meta information behind the Star Trek series, specifically Next Generation and Forward. But
About what? Sorry, what information? You're coming through a little quiet for me for some reason. I don't know.
like the kind of meta information about the production of those series.
I know some details. I don't tend to spend too much time learning about that, but I know some people are really into it.
So Rick Berman was like the main producer of Next Generation and every series after that. As far, the main series is like Voyager and Deep Space Nine. And from accounts that I've heard, he's kind of an asshole. But
I feel like I've heard some details. I feel like I've heard some mixed reports, but mostly things along those lines.
But there's a series on Netflix, I forget what it's called right now, talks a lot about how Next Generation was made. And once Roddenberry died, Rick Berman did his, like, worked tirelessly to make sure that the stories and the just the general themes and everything about those series conformed to Roddenberry's vision of how the show
Yeah,
should
I mean,
be.
like, there is, like, a... Subtextually, there's, like, a really clear way that things tend to work in, like, Roddenberry-era Star Trek. Like, there's this, like, really strong through line of, like, humanism and, like, this idea that, like, humans can, like, continue to learn and grow and become perfect by sort of being open-minded and, like, questioning their actions and things along those lines.
Yeah.
It's, like, really important to understanding the world of Star Trek, like, the older series.
So I just Googled who the producers are of Discovery.
Oh, yeah, they got some fucking nobodies. Like, they're...
Rick Berman. Well, they got Alex Kurtzman, but...
I mean, like, in terms of, like, Star Trek, like, understanding, yeah.
Yeah. Rick Berman is nowhere to be seen on that. I did see Eugene Roddenberry, who I am assuming is Gene Roddenberry's son,
Yeah, I believe that's
which
his son.
shouts
if your
cash
name is
grab to me.
If your name is Gene, why would you name your son Eugene?
What's better than just going the junior route, I feel. I actually
Yeah.
appreciate that.
I don't know. I think it's weird. I think it's equally weird.
I think it's less weird, but arguably pretty simple.
Probably
Hey
'cause
Vasco, by the way, don't forget to go fight and win. I forgot to mention.
You should do those things. I agree.
I'll consider it. My plan had been to stay still, lose, and also lose.
Also, I hope someone is keeping time because my timer has inexplicably stopped, so that's cool.
I got 34 minutes.
Yeah, that's what I got. But, SharePlay will tell us, too.
Yeah, it's true.
That's
The plan
true.
is to just run out the share play. The timer is always a formality. It's a weird room. Probably this guy. Drum
I
Hobbit?
didn't...
This enemy is called Drum Hobbit.
Now I want to hug it.
Well, I want to shoot it with guns. That's the
Same
difference
thing.
between you and I, Tech.
I didn't want to get into Pokemon because I would have been yelling the way Vasco was yelling about Star Trek.
Yeah, it got too real. Like, there's some things where I'll be like, don't get me started, and I'm basically saying, no, get me started, I want to tell you about this. But, like, Star Trek Discovery, do not get me started. I will get very upset, and then it will become uncomfortable.
I mean, I wouldn't say it was uncomfortable. I was just like,
It was,
I'm glad
I
didn't
think
talk
I
about
stopped
Pokemon.
myself, like, right before it might have started to get uncomfortable.
I was talking to some friends that the group of friends that I have sucked back into playing the Pokemon TCG on
Yeah.
occasion. I was talking to them about the Pokemon mainline games and just started doing that with them. And one of them had heard it before and kind of agrees with me, but one of them hadn't. I was like, "Oh, you're in for it now." And he just kept asking me questions about it. I was like, you really want me to keep going, huh? You really want me to keep-"
We could play this game. We could dance.
So hopefully the mainline Switch one will be what I want it to be. Probably won't be, but hopefully it will.
I don't think that they have a mindset to make the kinds of changes that you are looking for. I'm
Yeah.
not saying it can't happen, it just doesn't seem like it's on their radar. I wouldn't expect it soon.
Yeah. Well, I'm not gonna play another one until it's different. So I'll watch you stream
Would you
it.
play, like, ancillary spin-off ones if they did ones? Like,
If
were
it's
you ever into, like, Stadium
No.
or...
well, I
anything
mean,
like that?
we played Stadium just because it was like. So we played this game called Monster Rancher.
I'm familiar with Monster Rancher. My
and
favorite thing
Stadium,
from Monster Rancher is tomfoolery.
Stadium was like the Pokemon Monster Rancher crossover that we really
Yeah.
wanted. But I never really got into. I mean, obviously we played Snap when it came out because that was
Hell yeah.
because
Yeah,
it was
that's
novel.
pretty great.
That was
It's
legit.
okay. It's alright. But I never got into like other weird spin-off games like Detective
Yeah,
Pikachu
there are a
or
lot of those
Mystery
I've tried.
Dungeon or
I
anything like
played
that.
a little Mystery Dungeon. It was okay. It wasn't great. I watched like a Let's Play to get a sense of what the Detective Pikachu game was like, and like I couldn't finish a half hour of it. It was very boring. it was not for me. And I
movie
believe
looks
it's
legit,
meant for
though.
like very young children. And like my sister has more or less said the same. Where like she couldn't finish it, but like appreciated that it has this interest in sort of like fleshing out some of the lore of like just living in a Pokemon world, because you're supposed to like solve mysteries, and it like has this basis in like learning things about how Pokemon like behave and stuff. That's like kind of a cool idea, but like it takes this like really heavy-handed, like slow-paced approach that just like can't.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, if they made it would have to be what I want Pokemon Mainline to be. Like, it doesn't have to be a mainline game as long as it's what I'm looking for, which is I don't want to get into because it's complicated and I honestly don't even know exactly what I want. I just know that it's not another mainline Pokemon game.
I mean, for me, and I am, like, obviously not the target audience. Not because I didn't enjoy Pokemon as a kid and don't enjoy it to a degree now. It's just, like, I think of the three of us, I am the least, like, RPG-minded person.
Probably fair to say.
And I would say
I remember
that
how
Pokemon
hard I
is-
had to try and get you to go in on this game with me. I was like, no,
Yeah.
look at this. Look at this video clip. Don't think about the fact that it's an RPG or that you have to play an RPG, but like look at it. Just look what it
Very
looks
true.
like.
Very true. So, I mean, I consider Pokemon a very RPG game, so yeah, there's a thing there. But
pretty traditional.
I really want a version of Pokemon, and I'm talking about OG
Where everyone
Pokemon,
has
'cause,
guns.
like, Oh yeah, definitely good. No, but where
Sense of Pokemon.
rather than a turn-based thing, and I mean even turn-based is fine. I just want to see animation of the Pokemon actually doing the thing, right? Like the new game, like kinda does that.
That's something they are gradually improving over time. Like
Yeah.
the new ones are better than like Sun and Moon, which are better than X and Y. Like at a certain point, they did start really genuinely working on that.
But
Yeah,
at the
I
same
think,
time, like the technology is there. There's no reason that they couldn't have
There's like
motherfucker.
750 Pokemon. You really think that they could do like unique animation for everything, and it wouldn't take them like years and years and years to do?
I think there's a way to do it. But
I feel like
anyway,
you'd have to invest unrealistic resources to achieve what you're talking
Oh,
about. It's
like
not
the
that you
Pokemon
couldn't do
Company
it, it would
doesn't
just
have
take too
those
long.
kind of resources. Pokemon Company is basically printing money, you know?
Yeah.
And I honestly think
they
that
are, but the reason
aside
they're
from-
doing that is because they're continuing to release
Right.
games, not because
Yeah.
they're trying to make one game in 7 years that
They
will
could
have perfect
stop-
animations for every Pokemon. That's why
They
they're
could stop
gradually doing it
doing-
over time.
They can stop doing the annual Pokemon game and still make hand over fist money just with licensing.
well, my point is that what I would like to see is instead of turn-based kind of stuff of actually like being able to battle the Pokemon and control them. You know what I mean? Like, wait, yeah, but not Pokemon Stadium because it's the
No,
same.
because Stadium still has like the choosing moves turn-based aspect. He's like you were talking about this a little bit when I was streaming the game, and,
Yeah.
and we sort of came to the conclusion something close to Pokken DX, but like
Yeah.
you're also a Pokemon trainer.
What did they? Somebody was it Demolition that shared a link to a Pokemon fighting game?
Yeah, that's Pokken. They're like,
Yeah,
it's like
so-
Pokken Tournament and like Pokken DX, I think.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Pokemon Tournament came out
was
with the
what you
Switch, didn't it?
Sorry,
Or was
what
that?
I'm not sure.
Pokemon Tournament came out on the Switch, didn't it?
I think it was shortly after. It was close to the Switch release. Yeah. I
So-
own it. I've never played it.
So that I want that experience. Though I didn't look at it very closely. I don't know if it's 2D or 3D. Like the animation is clearly 3D,
It's 3D.
but is it
Oh, you mean
2D
like the
in
fight? I think
Is
it
it
is
like-
actually 3D. I think
like
it is.
Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat, or is it like Tekken?
I think it's more like Tekken. I think it's sort of like a three-dimensional like sumo ring style of thing. I think there's like a limited area, but in that
Yeah.
you move around it freely. I think.
I want that as a thing. I think that should be a thing. You should be able to actually I just never enjoyed the idea of being in a battle and so and so is gonna fucking hit you and there's nothing you can do about it and you just have to take it.
You,
know what I
you
mean?
like
Like,
the
I just-
anime rules where Ash just yells "Dodge" and then they don't take any damage from the attack.
Well, I mean,
it's,
I also
it's something that people were like really making fun of when they did the Twitch marathon recently.
yeah. I mean, I also just like the idea of being able to use dexterity and reflexes to win a fight as opposed to simply just choosing the right moves. I don't know. It just never sat well with me.
So you want
But I
Pokemon
also
D&D.
came up in the video game world. I came up playing Ocarina of Time and stuff like that, where your timing and reflexes, but also strategy was a huge part of the game as opposed to just strategy.
Tech, I really want you to play Ocarina of Time Randomizer. I
What is
was
that?
talking a little bit about this on the stream. I don't think you were around at the time.
No, I don't think I was.
YouTube, recently somehow, recommended me this thing that someone had done. And it was called, Ocarina of Time Randomizer, parentheses, no logic. And this is a more extreme version of the thing I think you might actually enjoy.
Uh-huh.
But, Ocarina of Time Randomizer is essentially a ROM hack that, randomly places items. So, you get the Goron tunic someplace. You get the slingshot someplace. And, it's a set place all the time, always, in Ocarina of Time, right?
Right.
There's a place in the world where it belongs. Well, now, you might find the slingshot in, one of the 4 chests in Kokiri Village.
Okay.
And you might find like hookshot where a heart container belongs up on some weird cliff
Right.
someplace.
Or you might get the hover boots like as a kid or something like that.
Exactly.
Right.
And like as a conceit of this, like you can become adult right away. So like you won't just get stuck in Kokiri Village, right? Like there's certain things that are just like a little bit different from like how the game works in order to accommodate this.
Right.
But like I've now spent like an inordinate amount of time watching both a logic and a no logic run. And what the no logic run means is that like someone worked out like a bunch of like logical like can't think of the correct way to say this right now. But like conditions that are basically like you won't find the hammer someplace you need the hammer to get it. The no logic run is like fucking stupid because it's like in order to like guarantee that it's winnable, you need to be able to like glitch and do speedrunner shit.
Oh boy.
But I was like watching a speedrunner do it and it was really entertaining to me. But like the actual just like randomizer run is just for it's like a more casual type of thing where it's just sort of like if you really like Ocarina of Time, but like you've played the original game like a bunch and have done it that way before and you'd like a new experience, then do a randomizer run. It just seems like a really cool idea.
Yeah, that
in
would
my
be
mind
interesting.
it's similar to like the equivalent of like limited magic for Ocarina of Time, right? It's like the same experience, but there's a random element that makes it different from the normal experience.
Right. What do you play that on? Like a PC ROM situation?
Well, that is what I had assumed, but what he was saying was that you would play it on the Wii's, like the original Wii's Virtual Console. And I don't you'd have to do some research to figure out exactly how it works.
I don't
Because
even
he
know
said
if
that, like,
I know where
your
our
Wii.
Wii is.
He said, like, you have to, like, actually create your own ROM, like, using something to determine the settings that you want. And it was like, that
boy.
sounds harder than I expected, considering.
Oh boy. Vashron is very low on health.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of just hosed here.
You might be.
Let's try... Probably this guy.
Yeah, that
Probably
seems
this
good.
way. I like this.
Also, somehow it has gotten rather late. I think this may need to be my last fight. I hate to cut it before the share play cuts out, but
Well, let's see if this fight takes the rest of our share play time, because I did seem to fuck it up.
I think you've turned it around.
Yeah, you're
We'll see,
doing
we'll
alright.
see. Gotta defeat this drum hobbit.
Are they all called
I had
Drum
a
Hobbit?
nickel.
It seems like the arena enemies have like unique names that may not appear in the overworld. There was a different one I saw before that I was gonna comment on but didn't. It was like one of the like fat gangster types had some like weird name. And like this guy's like light gunner. Like I don't feel like these names appear anywhere else.
Yeah, but Drum Hobbit is definitely not something I feel like we've seen before.
Yeah, that's really weird.
I like that he like turned his like empty side to you very nicely.
Yeah. I think he's under the influence of some sort of slow motion there. So like I'm running extra fast so he can't turn like all the way away from me or whatever.
Right.
Try and do grenades. I have to cancel everyone's turn, and for some reason it doesn't want to let me do that.
It's all about having the right tool for the job.
It's all about having the right grenades.
That's definitely a tool for this job. Tell you what.
Time to find some new playmates.
Got meat in a hex. Oh yeah, actually we're like reasonably close to like the end of share play time anyway. Was that?
Yeah.
Where are we at? Just out of curiosity. We got to like halfway through 7. I mean, I feel like we've made some good progress here. It's not like we were under leveled for what we were doing, so I feel like this is probably a fine place to stop.
I think so.
I agree. Go team.
Yeah, so this was my penance for fucking up the boss squares, that I did all of this. I hope you enjoyed it, and tell me what you think about Star Trek Discovery. If you have strong negative feelings. If you have positive feelings, don't leave a comment. Don't you
Yeah,
fucking
if
leave
you
a
have
comment.
positive feelings, you can go die in a fire.
Just don't do it.
Alright, everyone, I hope you've enjoyed this bonus episode experience, and back to your regularly scheduled content.
Do you want a second take on that? We have post.
Yeah, what is a regularly scheduled? I don't
know.
Something
I don't know
that
what that is.
Reginald
It might be a
schedules.
Pokemon. Is that a Pokemon?
It's definitely Pokemon. Alright, Cotillion's gonna edit this out, except he won't at all. Okay,
No.
I
He
hope
won't.
you've enjoyed this
He'll
bonus
gradually
episode.
increase the volume until it deafens everyone watching the video.
Back to your regularly scheduled content. I got it out. There you go.
Good job.
Bye.
Bye.